Hi, everybody. I'm Toby Smith with the Carolina Pro Football Report here at bitter cold Bank of America Stadium. The weather in the teens, it's been really crazy so far. Power outages around Charlotte and what have you definitely affected our production today. And it was incredible. Now, when we talk about this matchup, we come in here with the Panthers at 4-9 and the Lions at 7-7. Detroit has won 7 of their last 8. They've been hot. Very dangerous team in the NFC. Last time these two teams met in the regular season was in 2020. Carolina had a 20-0 shutout then. Now let's see what they can muster up today. Coach Steve Wilks has had his team focused and concentrated on trying to make the playoffs game by game. 2 more divisional opponents coming up in Tampa Bay and New Orleans to close out the season, but this is a critical win today. Now let's take a closer look at this matchup coming up. Antonio Ramos and Colin Cole.
Well, thank you, Joby. Please, you guys need to stay warm out there with this weather. We're back to give you more Panthers-Lions analysis here with former Panthers defensive tackle Colin Cole. And Colin, we all know that Carolina's identity starts up front, right? Panthers need to reestablish the running game again to be Detroit. This Lions defensive front has allowed 4.8 yards per carry all year, and is the second highest rushing touchdowns allowed with 19. What do you think the Panthers need to do today again to reestablish the running game?
Well, it's going to be running back by committee. I mean, led by the guy that was interviewed in this piece, Chuba Hubbard. I mean, they're going to have to get back to getting to that ground game and reestablish that. I mean, they're right there in the mix, obviously, with the playoffs looming. And so if they get back to that, and then they can find their way to establish that, the sky's the limit. We know that this team has been built around the running game, obviously, with the additions that they have along that offensive line. So it's just going to take some time. And that's where it's going to have to start, is the guys up front.
Exactly. And on the other side of the football, Panthers defense must stop Lions running game as well, with the two-headed monster of DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams, the leading NFL rushing scorer with 12 touchdowns on the ground. Colin, you played a position for a very long time in this league. Coach Wilks said that defensive line was playing too lateral sometimes against Pittsburgh. What do you think? What do you want to see from those guys up front today against this Lions offensive line?
Well, just like Coach Wilks was mentioning, it's going to take guys like Derrick Brown getting penetration. It's going to take the interior defensive line to get penetration to force that running game to have to bounce to the outside, where guys like Brian Burns and the guys that I mentioned in the past with Marquise Haynes. We got a number of guys on the outside edges that are really creating good pushback, knockback, and that's what has to happen. I mean, in that Pittsburgh game, the line of scrimmage was established in Pittsburgh's favor. They repeatedly had opportunities to gain 3 and 4 yards a pop, and then obviously Trubisky was able to do what he was able to do. But it all started with that running game, and so to get that established this week is going to come from those guys in front, like I mentioned earlier, is reestablishing that line of scrimmage, getting deep penetration into that offensive backfield, and making it difficult for that offensive line for the Detroit Lions to get established.
Absolutely. As you said, I think we need a big game today from Derrick Brown and Brian Burns, who, by the way, he made it to the second consecutive Pro Bowl at age 24. So that's great news for the Panthers defensive line. This Lions offense is more than just 2 good running backs, as we said. Jared Goff has 64% pass completion this year, no turnovers in the last 6 games. He's playing behind the best offensive line in terms of pass pro. And I think we have to give offensive coordinator Ben Johnson some credit as well. This offense is ranked number 3 in red zone efficiency with 70% and number 3 in points scored per game with 26. Colin, if you were the Panthers defensive coordinator, where do you start your game plan against these guys?
Well, the game plan has to start with taking away the run. I mean, that's the area that they're strong at. However, Jared Goff has done some really good things this season. He's done. I've seen him come from behind in some victories, and he's made some key throws in some of those wins. So you're running into a situation where they're playing well in 2 areas, but you take away the league's top rusher in terms of scores and Bell, it's going to be a huge task for for him to be for Jared Goff to have to carry that team and to have to divvy the passing around to actually carry him to a victory. So it's going to be tough, but I think that if the Panthers can maintain the getting after them up front and getting some negative yardage plays, it's going to be huge in setting them in position behind the sticks and force them to have to throw, and then unleash that pass rush that Brian Burns has and some of those guys that I've mentioned that what they have up front.
And as we know, this is a must-win for the Panthers to keep playoff hopes alive. Last home game of the regular season against this Hot Lions team, they have won 6 of the last 7, and they have a high-scoring offense, but that defense have struggled all year, and we know they can take a lot of yardage and scores in the red zone. I know Carolina needs to establish the run, as you mentioned, and weather conditions help you to pound the football. But at some point, Colin, do you think – I think I want to see Sam pushing the ball a little bit more against the third worst secondary in NFL. Maybe the weather conditions won't help, but DJ Moore, the only 2 starts against the Lions that he has in his career has been putting huge numbers. So do you see the Panthers taking some shots down the field at some point in the game?
They have to. They really have to. If you're considering the opportunities that Sam will have in this season, this upcoming game, you mentioned some of the weakness that the Detroit Lions secondary has had this season. If this team wants to really find a way to make its way to the playoffs and make a run, then they really have to find a downfield passing attack. It's going to be difficult no matter who you go against, but this would be an opportunity. This would be the week to really reestablish that. Starting with the running game, starting with that core committee of running backs that we talked about, get that established, let the offensive line come off the ball and start creating some passes, some run lanes, and then you play action pass. You do some of the things that Sam Darnold is strong with and what he's comfortable with, and get him out of the pocket sometimes and get him out on the edge and obviously take some of those shots. But it all starts with the running game, and that's what it is on both sides of the ball. From my expertise and my analysis, is always starts up front on both sides of the ball. So establishing the running game early and getting those guys up front comfortable and confidence against this Detroit Lions defensive line, this defensive front, and then taking advantage of that secondary when they have to drop that 8th man in the box to try to take away the run game. So it's going to be a chess match, but that's what offensive coordinator Ben McAdoo is up for in this game.
Well, Colin, before letting you go, what's your score prediction for today's game?
Well, I think that the Panthers have a great opportunity of spreading the ball around this week, and what will be the key matchups and creating that will be everything that happens within those trenches. So I think my score will have to be around the space of about 24-9. I think the defense can keep them out of the end zone as long as they can create those negative plays like I mentioned, and try to make Jared Goff have to beat.
Well, this is our analysis for the Panthers-Lions game. 3 final games for this season for this Panthers team. They control their own destiny. They can still keep those playoff hopes alive. Joby, guys, back to you.
Thanks a lot, guys. Now stay with us on the Carolina Pro Football Report here at Bank of America Stadium. We'll be right back.
At Heslop Wealth Advisors, our goal is to help small businesses develop quality retirement plans for their employees through our Lunch and Learn seminars. We provide lunch and learning tools to help your company succeed and unmatched customer service.
Welcome back to the Pro Football Report from Bank of America Stadium. One of our top shows is Chopping Up with Buck. Very intriguing, great interviews, and always stay tuned to ESPN Radio for that. And you can also see it on adsn1.com. Now let's take a look at some of the 3 keys to the game for the Carolina Panthers. They've got to keep pressure on Detroit and try to stop the run. Both teams are going to keep the ball on the ground. Of course, they got to protect Sam Darnold at all times. Maybe he'll sprint away from anybody putting pressure on him, but if he drops back in the pocket, they've got to protect him. And of course, the Carolina Panthers have to run the ball effectively and sustain drives. Now we're all set for this Week 16 matchup here at Bank of America Stadium. That'll do it for the Pro Football Report here, and boy, it's going to be a good one. Very important for the Carolina Panthers to come away with a win.